And you are welcome to day 2 of the Back to School 2023 webinar. We are going to learn a whole lot tonight. I hope that you have your notebooks. I hope you have your pens, because there's going to be so many things that you're going to surely need to pen down. So I am Dr. Jennifer Ndiboti. I am the convener of this Back to School webinar, and I am a parenting coach, the founder of Parenting with Dr. Jen. So I am excited to go on this journey with you tonight, because I believe that when parents are more knowledgeable, they are better positioned to make decisions that help them to be an advantage to their children. Yes, because as a parent, your parenting can and should be an advantage. It can also be the opposite, because when you're ignorant, you can love your child and still do things that are not in their best interests. So tonight we're going to be looking at the second part of our curriculum for this webinar. Yesterday I shared with you what today's menu was going to be. Yesterday we learned about some common challenges that could cause a child to struggle academically, and we also looked at common reasons why a child may even begin to decline academically in the course of the academic year. And it's important for us to know these things, because if you have a child that is an A student, and suddenly this child begins to decline, when you have knowledge, you are well positioned to take the necessary steps to help them get back to where they usually are, or to begin to excel more than they did before. So knowledge is crucial. Okay, so once again, you are welcome. Today we're going to be looking at how to help your child thrive academically. As a parent, one of the things I emphasized on yesterday is the fact that you are the most important piece on your child's academic journey. And what you know helps you to be able to take steps that can really help your child's journey to be so much better. So there is this quote I have for you here. So at the end of the day, the most overwhelming key to a child's success is the positive involvement of parents. So your role cannot be overlooked. Dear parent, your role cannot be overlooked, right? Paying school fees is great. Getting the necessary supplies is great. Doing all these other things to ensure your child has the best education is great. But if you leave it there, then what you are saying is that your child's academic success depends solely on the school institution, and that is not true, because your role is most important. Your role is very important, or is equally important as the school, if not more than the school. This quote says, at the end of the day, the most overwhelming key to a child's success academically is the involvement of parents. So your job as a parent doesn't end at the level of meeting your child's needs. You have to show up and you have to participate. So we're going to look at what you can do to help your child thrive academically. What's very common is that whenever there is an academic challenge, whenever a child is struggling academically, what's the first thing we do? We get lesson teachers. We hire extra classes. We go, we do different things just to try. We do everything we know how to help this child get back on the right track. You have a child that just is always at the bottom of the class, or always in the middle, just struggling and struggling. The very first thing we always think about is, hey, extra lessons. Let's get teachers to teach them. They're in boarding school. Let's help pay this teacher to, follow them up and all of that. But without knowledge, you will agree with me that you will hardly ever think of addressing some of the things that we talked about yesterday. That's why I said, as a parent, if you are not learning, you are limited. If you are not learning, then you are parenting on assumptions, and assumptions will not get you to the destination that you are hoping to get to. And the problem is that most of the times, we are not even really sure about where we are getting to. Most parents will tell you, I want to raise a good child. I want to raise a godly child. That's very generic, right? If you want to go somewhere, you don't get to a bus station and say, I want to go somewhere nice. No, you have to tell your bus conductor, this is where I am going. And they will tell you what bus you need to be on. So being purposeful is crucial, because you cannot arrive at a destination that you have not foreseen, that you have not prepared or planned to arrive at. Okay, so yesterday we looked at different points that addressed why some children struggle or decline academically. We talked about learning incompatibilities. We talked about learning disability. We talked about poor study habits, lack of executive function skills, lack of motivation, loss of interest. We talked about inappropriate learning environment, health problems. Dr. Fomenki actually enlightened us on the role that nutrition has to play. And the good news is that she will surely come back to tell us exactly what we need to be putting in our children's lunch boxes, because that is the practical part of it. And then we have emotional or behavioral problems, because a child that is an emotional mess is actually going to struggle academically. Okay, so yesterday we also looked at strategies to boost intelligence. One of the things, we had two key points that we were supposed to take home. And the very first point is that there is no such thing as a dull child. It just doesn't exist. And I shared with you why yesterday. And the second thing was that intelligence is not fixed. Yes, it's not fixed. It can be developed. It can be boosted, right? The struggling child can become an excelling child if you know what to do. So today, we're going to be looking at how to help your child thrive, how to help your child excel in their academics. I don't think there's any parent who doesn't desire to be at the school closing ceremony and have their child be called up to receive honors, right? I've been in those shoes, so I know how it feels. I used to be an honor student myself, and I have children who are at that level. But I also have a child that struggles. One of my children actually has an atypical learning style. So his academic journey actually pushed me into going really deep to studying how to help a child thrive. And one thing that is very interesting is the fact that I have never hired a lesson teacher for my children. I've never had to do that, because I knew what to do and I was committed to the process. Because helping a child will require dedication, it will require sacrifice, and it will require commitment. But above all, it will require consistency. You have to show up to participate. So what to look for in a good school? We're going to look at that today. What you can do from where you are, right? How to help your child learn effectively. We're going to look at how to foster, how to nurture the love for learning. We're going to look at how to create a good learning environment. And then we're also going to see how to get involved in your child's academic activities and to provide the support that your child may need. So making the right school choice. Why is that so important? Why is it important for you to not just, decide on the school your child will attend just based on the fact that the uniforms are cute, or it's very close to the house, or, the fact that your neighbor's children are going there, or the fact that, all your kids have been to that school, or the fact that you even attended that school? Because I have, it's very common to hear parents say, I was a sicker, all my kids will be sick. I'm sorry to coin sicker. it just slipped out of my mouth. I'm not saying there's something wrong with sicker, okay? I'm just using that as an example. Some parents, you hear them say, I was a cigarette, or a Pemexan, or a Sabesan, or a Shesan. Let me be fair. And my children must attend the same school. Or I went to PNU, and my children must go to PNU, right? That's a very biased and, permit me say, an ignorant way of approaching it. Because all you are basing your decision on is the fact that you attended it, it was good for you, so it must be good for your child. If you've been following me on any of my social media platforms, or if you took yesterday's session, then one thing you must know by now is the fact that children learn differently. People learn differently. And the best school may not be the right school, right? The wrong school can make a mess of your child. The fact that the school, is top notch, you're paying millions, and you automatically think, hey, because it's Harvard, or because it's, I don't want to call American school or British school, it automatically means your child will thrive. No, Not necessarily, right? There are a certain number of factors that you, as a parent who is equipped with knowledge, you must be able to ask these questions. Because without asking the right questions, you cannot get the right answers that will help you make the decision that you need to make that will help your child thrive academically. So we cannot talk about academic excellence without talking about the right school. It starts from there because that's where the child is going to be learning, except your child is homeschooled. And even the decision to homeschool a child, there are certain things you need to ask yourself before arriving at that decision. Homeschooling is not very common in our setting, so we're not even going to dwell on that. I think I've come across just one person who actually homeschooled her kids. Yet to talk with her, but I would really like to know what the experience was. At some point in my journey, I actually considered homeschooling my children, but I thank God that I didn't make that decision. I'm not saying it's bad, but it wasn't the right fit for me and for my journey. Okay, so why the right school choice is important. Okay, schools are not all equal. They are not. The best and most popular school in your neighborhood or in your town, everybody's talking about it. It's very popular. It's well known. Everybody's rushing there. There's a waiting list. Does not make it the right school for your child. It's not even just a question of affordability or fanciness, because sometimes it's just the prestige. Let's admit it. Sometimes we go to some of these schools because we just want to have the bragging rights. My child attends Harvard, or my child attends so and so, right? This is good, right? It's important that parents actually go the extra mile sometimes to be able to send their children to some of these schools. But it should not just be based on the fact that the school is renowned for being great or for being the best. What you should figure out is whether this school is the right fit for your child. So even if you may have the financial capacity to afford the top-notch school, you need to also ask the right questions, because that school may be top-notch, but it's lacking seriously at the level of moral values. And you have a child that you've brought up, you've done everything to shape up that child. You place that child in the wrong environment where the child spends 4 or 5 years, and the moral value aspect of that environment is very, very low, and you end up with regrets. This is why I say that the best school may not be the right school. There's certain things you need to ask. You need to be able to assess before you arrive at that decision. So making an informed decision is more important than having the money that gives you access to the best schools. Will this school be an advantage for your child? Will this school be an advantage for your parenting journey? Because yes, imagine a child who goes to a school where the moral environment, works against what you have been building. You will begin to struggle all over again. So reasons why you must choose right. The very first reason is that the school experience plays an important role in the development of self-perception. Right? When you place a child in that school environment, that school becomes a very important part, of your child's life, because your child is going to spend significant amounts of time in that environment. And any place where a child spends a good amount of time becomes a source of influence on that child. So the development of the child's self-perception, right? And it can also have long-term effects on your child's self-esteem. So it can be positive or it can be negative. If you choose right, it becomes positive. You make a wrong choice, it becomes negative. So choosing the right school is crucial for deciding the strength of your child's academic foundation. There is such a thing as a right academic foundation. There are children who are 10 and can't read, not just because they lack the ability, maybe they're not dyslexic necessarily, but because at the point of building the foundation for their academics, they found themselves in a place where this was not done right. Right? There are children who go through school, especially when there's a learning incompatibility, when their learning style is not being addressed. You have the children cramming the concepts just to pass. So your child loses their love for learning because they are in a system that does not have the skills to nurture that love for learning. The child loses that love and just begins to try to survive. And that is by cramming to pass. So we have children who cram. I actually witnessed my own child, he is very good at memorizing. So he memorizes everything and just repeats. When you test the concept, you realize that it's lacking. So the foundation is actually one of the things that is at stake when you are choosing the school for your child. So the wrong school will also mean challenges on your parenting journey. We've addressed that. So until parents become knowledgeable and begin to ask the right questions and place demands on the system of education in our society, we will not be able to create an environment that can foster greatness in the next generation. Let me explain this, okay? So I attend the PTA, and from start to finish, the concerns of most of the parents was the fact that, fees, this, and, it's mostly financial. There were hardly conversations that addressed curriculum, that addressed, extracurricular activities, that addressed the welfare of the children. And when I brought up the points I had to bring up, most of the parents were now nodding their heads because nobody thought to ask these questions, right? Because we think that school is just about going in there, coming out with good grades, going to the next level, good grades, move, get the job, and that's it. No, there's a lot more than that, right? A school is very, very crucial to who your child becomes tomorrow. So you cannot just focus on what you have spent and how what you have spent on that school is being spent. There's more than that. Some complained about the fact that they didn't have snacks and things like that. Or some just boycott the PTA altogether. It's hardly ever 100% or even 90% or even 80% attendance. Usually it's far less. You see nannies attending. You see people sent to attend on behalf of the actual stakeholders, which are the parents of the children that attend those schools. And most of them come for these PTA meetings and they don't even know. They just come, to just participate. And you're coming to participate and you have no points, you prepared no points to raise because you don't know where to begin to ask the right questions. Without knowledge, you cannot even begin to ask the right questions. And when I will teach you what you're going to learn tonight, some of the schools are actually going to begin to wonder what's happening. Because until we begin as parents to ask questions, you discover that when you ask questions, when you are curious, when you are interested in the system in which you have placed your child, it actually spurs, the school to begin to do better. Because if nobody's asking those questions, the school has no motivation to actually do better, except the visionary of that school is really driven. But usually, they just settle. And we shouldn't settle because your child is in that system. And you should at best be able to participate, get involved, because your say matters, right? How is my child being taught? Why is this and that like that? Why do we have TVs in a nursery school class? Why is there no break time? Why is the break time like this? Why was this taken away? Ask the right questions. And that's what helps to make the system in which you have placed your child better, because now they are challenged to go the extra mile to actually ensure excellence. Excellence is not just about beautiful buildings and, flashy stuff. No, that's not excellence. That's not academic excellence. It has to do with querying the learning system. That's what you have to query. Not just about environment is important, yes, but more importantly, these meetings have to be about the system of learning that you put your child in. So the school choice lays the foundation for your child's career path and success in life. It lays that foundation, right? There's some children that actually begin to hate certain subjects because of how they were taught. My husband shared the story with me about how he hated maths. Little did he know that it was because of the teacher he had. He always failed mathematics until he got a teacher at the final level. When he was in high school, he got a teacher that was able to, he developed a love for maths and he actually passed it really well for the first time because of the kind of teacher he had. So it matters, okay? It matters. You could have a child that was born to be maybe a doctor, but because the person who taught them biology or chemistry, actually messed up their love for the subject, they just completely go the opposite way. So the school choice impacts your child's love and approach to learning. So a child may actually lose their love for learning because of how the system into which you have placed them approaches learning. So where do you begin? The first thing we need to begin to consider are your priorities for your child. What are your priorities? Have you ever sat down to ask yourself these questions? What really matters to me? when it comes to school my child is attending? What matters? Does it matter to me that they don't pray in the morning? Does it matter to me that, during socials, maybe they dance to certain kind of, stuff? Does it matter to me that there is no moral education in the school curriculum? Does it matter to me that the school toilet, is in a place where very little kids are mixing up with bigger kids? Does it matter to me that, you have a class with 50 children and one teacher? Does it matter to me? What matters to you? It's not just about, there are some parents who go to school, anyway, not intentionally, and they get to the school administration, pay the fees, and they're gone. They don't even visit the classroom. Some parents don't even know how the classroom looks like, especially when the kids are bigger. They don't bother to check. What if your child is sitting on a seat that actually affects their back? You wouldn't know. Your child is complaining, my back, and you don't know why. You didn't check. Okay, so what are your priorities for your child? Is it a school? Does it matter to you that the school has value for excellence? Does it matter to you that the school has high moral standards? Does it matter that the school has a rigorous curriculum, that causes your child to develop a work ethic? Does it matter to you that the parents' curiosity is entertained and welcome? Does it matter to you that the school your child is going to attend actually makes enough room for parents to participate and be active? Because a school that shies away from parent participation is a school that is not motivated to change or to improve. They just want to just be. Okay? So a school that has no PTA all year long, red flag. Red flag. Why? Because how can you put the system if you have nobody querying what you're doing? You want to also look at, gather information about different schools. Don't just pick one. Check a few, right? Go to a few schools. Figure out, ask around about these few schools. There are some things that you need to consider, like distance and all of that, but then have more than one on your list because you never know until you have checked every other one. So you can't check all, but you can check at least a good number of them, maybe 2, 3, and then you decide from there. You want to visit and observe the school. Crucial. If you've been following me again, then you've seen me share on this. One of the ways to help your children be less anxious is to have them visit, and that gives you the opportunity to see where your child will be learning. There could be a class that has just one tiny window, so dark inside, and your child is struggling to see the board, and you don't even know. Or the class is so big, and your child is seated at the back. What to consider? So what do you ask? What questions do you ask? We have to move quickly. So values. There's no other place to start than from there. The values. What are the values of this school? What do they